All right, so I'm now going to explain. Wow, I just realized this says Github pages. That's annoying. Well, I'm now going to explain and demonstrate creating a Github pages hosted website for a simple repository. The first step is to make a repository or pick some repository that we want to create a GitHub page for. So I'm just going to make a new repository quickly. I'm going to call this one chickens. It will be public. I'm not going to put anything in there to begin with. And then locally on my machine, I don't yet have a repository. So I'm going to init. And let's say that this repository is a list of chicken breeds or chicken names or something. So I've got this chickens.txt file I just created. We'll add a commit. So git add chickens, git commit, initial commit. Nothing crazy, nothing to do with the website yet. I'll add some chickens into that list. Let's see, we've got Australorps and Barnvelders. I'm just copying and pasting some of these. So I'm just going to put some chickens in there. It really doesn't matter. Whatever the content of this is, it's not a website. And that's what I want to show you, is that I can have some completely standalone project that is not a website, but then I can create a branch where I build out a GitHub Pages website. So this will be our basic project, our starting point. I'll go ahead and add and commit. Add, some chicken breeds. All right, and then I want to get this up on GitHub. So I guess we'll rename to main just to follow what GitHub wants. Optional, of course. And then I will add my remote. So I'm just going to rename master to main. Then I'll add my remote. And then I'll just push up, literally just copying and pasting. I'll push up what we've done. All right. So now we have, if I refresh one more time, we have some work up here. Very simple, but imagine it's some complicated repository like that Faker project I showed you. Now, if I want to set up a GitHub Pages website, all that I have to do is select some branch that I'm going to tell GitHub contains a website. And specifically, it's going to look for a file called index.html. So I don't have that on here at all right now. But if I did, I go to settings and then scroll all the way down to this, almost to the bottom, right above the danger zone, GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages is currently disabled. Select a source below to enable it, and I have to pick a branch. So I'm not going to select main because currently there's no HTML file, no index.html on the main branch, but also I want to demonstrate that you can have some project on the main branch and have no website, and then on a separate branch, set up a website. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a new branch here, git switch-c, and I'll just call this one gh-pages. You don't have to name it that. I think in the past you did. Now you can make any branch you want, the designated GitHub Pages branch, so you don't need that. And now I'm going to make an index.html, and I might even delete that chickens file. Whoops, git status. And then I'm going to add those changes. I'll commit and just say add index.html. Okay, so now I have this HTML file, and it does need to be called index. And if you don't know HTML, that's not a huge deal, but basically I'm just going to fill out some very simple HTML in here. Maybe I'll just put a heading, chickens, like that. And then, I don't know, I guess that's probably it. Maybe a paragraph that has some lorem ipsum text. So imagine that this is my website that I want to host using GitHub Pages. All right, so that's what it looks like, index.html. I'm now going to add and commit, git add index, git commit. I'm on this branch, GitHub Pages, git commit-m, and what should I do here? Add basic HTML. Cool. So now I'm going to push this branch up, git push origin, and then gh pages. So now I should have two branches up here. One that is my very complicated, just use your imagination, very complicated repository, big project, I don't know what it is, a Python project or something, an open source library. And then the second branch contains a lovely website. It's not hosted anywhere yet, but it is a single HTML file. So all I need to do now is go into settings and tell GitHub Pages, or tell GitHub that I want to use GitHub Pages on the branch gh-pages, and I believe it automatically detected that name. So that's kind of the conventional name a lot of people use, and it looks like it's set up to automatically detect that. But I want to be very clear, you can name that branch anything. I could make it the main branch that is hosted, but I'm going to go with gh-pages. And then it asks me to select a folder where it will find the index.html file. And ours is just in the root of the repository. The other place you can do is a docs folder, but we just want it, or at least the way I have it right now, it's just index in the root of the repository. So that's good. That's all we need. This is how you can set up a custom domain. I'm not going to do that. But here it shows me your site is ready to be published at colt.github.io/ the name of my repository, which is chickens. So it often takes a little while, especially on the first, well, no, I'm wrong. It's already up here. But sometimes it can take a couple of minutes. But here's my hosted website, right? It's not beautiful, but colts.github.io/chickens. You could go to this right now, and I'm actually going to change this a bit so you won't see this, but you'll see the website. And then I can continue to make changes to my other branches, right? I can build out the rest of this main branch and have a whole bunch of changes and files and collaborators, but then separately decide that I want to update the website. All I do is push new code up to GitHub pages, gh-pages. That's the name of the branch. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to update this HTML file a little bit and make it somewhat nicer. Here's a code pen that I found by this guy, Caesar C, and I want to use this text, this animated SVG. So I'm just going to basically adapt this. I'm going to say chickens instead. And then I'm going to copy the corresponding HTML and CSS. This is actually written with something called Pug. I want the compiled HTML. This really has nothing to do with GitHub pages, but anyway, I'm going to copy this and put it in my HTML file. I'll get rid of everything else in the body. And then I'm going to look at the compiled CSS, copy all of that, and I'm going to make a CSS file. I'll call it app.css and put all of this in there. All right, and now I need to link to that CSS file, app.css, that's the name of that file. Great. And then I'm just going to add and commit that. So git add app.css. I'll just do an add dot, I guess. And then git commit -m. I don't know, add animated text to index. All right. So I'm on the GitHub pages branch still. So git push origin gh-pages. So I've modified my website, the index.html file. On this branch, I push that branch up. We go back and just make sure that code is now here. If I look at that branch, right, we have app.css and our new version of index. And then if I go to the URL where it's currently served, Colt, my username, .github.io/chickens, I refresh. It happened quickly. I recorded this video earlier today and had to throw it away. It was taking like 20 minutes to update, but this time I got lucky. And this is our hosted web page. I will leave it as this. You could go to this URL yourself and view it. I'm not paying to host this, right? GitHub is doing it for free. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean you should use it for important projects or things with high stakes, but for portfolios or for personal websites, for documentation, for small projects, just to demonstrate a project, GitHub Pages is a great resource. So all you do, again, is for a project, make some branch, or it could be your main branch, and then go into settings and designate that branch as the GitHub Pages branch. So I could change this over to be main, but there's no index HTML there, so we won't actually see a web page. But if I had an index on main, I could serve that instead, and I would see it here. So I push up my code, push up changes to that branch up to my GitHub repo, and then wait a moment, refresh. It might be more than a moment, but a couple of minutes, hopefully at most, and I'll see those changes reflected here. So that is GitHub Pages, a really, really nice resource. It's free and pretty simple to use compared to a lot of hosting services. But again, remember, it is limited to static sites. This is not a full-fledged hosting service for full web applications with backends, but still, we are very thankful for it.